Hello, welcome to the picturesque Phillip Island circuit in Victoria for round 2 of the 1994 Australian Manufacturers Championship for Class 2 2-litre cars. Phillip Island, of course, made famous in Australia in 1989 for bringing 500cc World Championship motorcycle racing to Australia, with Wayne Gardner taking the 89 and 1990 Grand Prix wins. The track also hosted the first great race in 1960 and then 61 and 62 before the race moved to Mount Panorama Bathurst for 1963. Bit of action from qualifying on screen. There's Steve Ellery, who we battled hard with in both races at Eastern Creek. The most recent winner, race 2 at Eastern Creek, Paul Morris on screen here during qualifying. There's our Peugeot, car number 9, just going through picture. There we are. Bit of a tight battle there during qualifying. Greg Murphy, he had a poor round 1. He'll be hoping to have a bit of improvement here in round 2. Everyone though is chasing after qualifying Phil Ward in the Technophone Mercedes, car number 018. He's on pole, looking to turn around what was a very poor opening round also, with a retirement in race 1. But with the rest of the grid, let's now go down and have a look at it for race number 1 here at Phillip Island. And on pole position, as we said, Phil Ward, Technophone Mercedes 190E, car number 018. Alongside, times very close, within a tenth of a second, Tony Longhurst, the winner of race 1, car number 25, the Benson and Hedges BMW. From position 3, car number 23, Paul Morris, the winner of race 2 at Eastern Creek. And alongside him, car number 015, the Motor Noter, Peter McKay, second of the Technophone Mercedes. Position 5, Greg Murphy. Pretty good effort considering the bad luck he had in round number 1. And alongside him on row 3, position 6, Mark Adderton in the Momo BMW, who had a great run to a pair of 4ths at round 1. Position 7, John Cotter in the first of the Clark BMWs. Now to position number 8, James Kay, the Briton, in car number 12, the Oryx Toyota Carina. From 9, Peter Duhlmann, car number 1, the Clark BMW. Now to 10, John Blanchard in the Murray Auto Air BMW. We're out of position number 11, Russ Dugman, first of the Peugeot 405s. Our teammate Ken Matthews is alongside us in car number 88. From 13, Steve Ellery, car number 6, the Chelgrave Ford Sierra. From 14, Phil Alexander in the Peugeot 405, and off the tail of the field, car number 98, Peter Hills in the Ford Sierra. Let's go down to the grid now and see how we go in race number 1 in the Peugeot. Okay, on the grid. Lights are on. There we go, bogged down a little bit. Not too bad. The cars sort of got boxed up a bit. It's a very tight grid. Down now to turn 1. Can we get in between Murphy and Blanchard? We'll let them go. A few cars off in the dirt. Up to the southern loop. Blanchard ahead of us in the M3. Down to turn 3, then up to Honda corner. Blanchard on our right. We won't fade out too wide. Oh, under brakes we can get past the Carina, I think. Greg Murphy into our door, but we're just ahead. Up to Siberia. Left-hander. Under the bridge. James Kay and the Carina ahead of us. Through the hayshed for the first time, then up to Lukey Highs. Sun in our eyes as we come over, and we'll drop down into MG. Slow out of there was Kay. Slight nudge. Up now to Swan corner to end the lap. Very fast corner, but it's an important corner for the run down the front straight. just managed to get away from us, I think. Down to the very fast turn 1, you can see the ocean off in the distance. And I was almost following the Carina off there. How did they save it? Got Murphy behind me. I think Murphy went off as well. They were able to get back on track, both of them. Through turn 3, down to Honda corner. On the curb. Looks like just in front of James K, looks like we got, I think it's John Cotter in the Clark BMW. And then I think it's even Paul Morris, who's had a very poor start, who's behind Mark Adderton. Over Lukey Heights. Sun in our eyes still. Probably the case for the whole race. Down to second gear. Through MG. Still struggling a little bit like I did in the first round with keeping the rear end of the Peugeot settled. It's not as bad as it was at Eastern Creek, but still not comfortable turning into the corners. Into lap 3. Through turn 1. Set it up then for the southern loop. Wide and try and cut in on the way out. The problem with doing that is you don't want to let someone slide up the inside of you in the first part of the corner. Down to the Honda hairpin. Just holding on to the guys in front through Siberia. An important left-hander because it sets up your whole run through here to the left, then right at the hay shed, and then up over Lukey Heights. Then drop down into MG corner. Every bit of the track. Peugeot is just a little bit down in horsepower, so makes it very hard to make a pass on the guys in front. It means we're relying on a bit of a toe just to stay in contact. Turn 1, James K's out in the dirt again. Southern Loop's one of the corners here where it's hard to keep the rear end settled and turning. Phillip Island, of course, this track was built in the 50s. Although racing on Phillip Island goes back well before then. Phillip Island hosted the first Australian Grand Prix cars in 1928, although that's been disputed recently. With it now believed in some quarters the first Australian Grand Prix was in 1927. But for the moment, at least officially, they still say Phillip Island hosted the first Australian Grand Prix in 1928, but that wasn't on this circuit. This track built in the 50s. Hosted the precursor to what we now know these days as the Bathurst 1000. The Armstrong 500 was held here in 60, 61, 62 before the track was far too damaged to host the 1963 Armstrong, partly because it's so isolated on an island they couldn't get the resurfacing equipment down here. We've had a car off for turn one. I think it's Paul Morris, the joint championship leader. Wow, one of the front running cars is out. So the track sort of fell into disrepair for sort of the rest of the 60s, but then it was reopened in the early 70s, and by then Bathurst was established. But Phillip Island did take up a touring car enduro at the end of the season from about 74 through to 77, the Phillip Island 500. Sort of the end of season bash. But by 78 the track had again fallen into disrepair, and it lay dormant pretty much throughout the 80s until there was a push for an Australian 500cc motorcycle Grand Prix on the back of Wayne Gardner's 1987 World Championship win, and a consortium got together. They rebuilt this track, pretty much the original layout for 1989. The two big changes were they shortened up the run into what's known here as Honda hairpin. We'll get up to it in a minute. Through turn one. Close behind us. Out of turn two. Back straight to our right. As we come up here, you'll see that when we brake for the hairpin, there's the runoff road that goes straight ahead. That's the old track. It used to run further up into a less tight right-hander, still a 180 but less of a hairpin, a bit more of a sweeping right. Then it rejoined with a bit of a straighter run into Siberia. So they shortened that up for the bikes, I guess to create runoff. The other change was as we come over Lukey Heights down into MG, the track ran much deeper into still the same sort of hairpin, but it was a bit further down the hill, then it was a bit tighter, and then there was a steeper run up the hill, so they shortened the run into the hairpin just to make it easier on the gearing for the 500cc bikes. And it's still a good passing spot, and it's still a bit of a flowing corner without being such a dead stop. So all in all, it's some slight changes, but the track is still true to itself. It remains that way today. Down to third gear, southern lip, lap 7. Just can't make any headway on James Kay. Murphy has dropped back behind us. We've now got John Blanchard behind us, and it looks like Peter Dorman. Down to Honda corner. So the track would go, well, the track had rejoined about where the curb was. Under the bridge. Flag up ahead, so someone else has had a bit of drama. over Lukey Heights. Into MG. Just pulled the car up. Not sure what the yellow flag was for. Onto pit straight. 4 laps to go. K's too far ahead now. We're going to have to fight off a bit of rear guard here, I think. Well, it looks like Blanchard's run off in the rearview mirror. So a bit of action happening in these races to start the season. Down to Honda. Peter Dillman closing in. The Clark BMW. Tyres are going off a bit, we're getting a bit of understeer. Up to the hay shed. 5th gear. Around 180 kilometres an hour. Drop down to 4th over Lukey Heights. Very good passing spot down here, but we're running wide, we may be getting past. Dirt. Through Swan Corner. Onto the front straight. Four seconds down on James Kay. It in. Right behind us in the M3 Motorsport, Clark BMW. One of the ex JPS and Peter Brock Group A BMWs. All over our tail. We're now, and he's into the side of us just as we're closing up on James Kay, and that was not to plan. I don't know what's happened there, but lost a lot of time. Got our teammate now behind us. We're still in 10th, but James Kay was going very slow, and then Murphy's going very slow. So back up the inside. Our tyres are very off. Well, that looks like they're perhaps both coming to the pits. The two Carinas. Maybe they both needed tyres. It looked like James Kay came to the pits, and it looked like Murphy just behind us was coming in. My tyres are very spongy. Sort of sliding everywhere, understeer and then oversteer. And went off last lap. Third gear. A long way behind 7th place. Which I assume is maybe John Blanchard, with Peter Dorman ahead of him. And we're safely quicker than the cars behind us into MG. Swan corner, around to start the final lap. Past the stricken Diet Coke BMW, parked down on the outside of turn 1. Southern loop, so looking like we're going to finish 8th. Could have been 6th, but that's racing. Down to 2nd gear. Siberia. Interesting to see what this does to the points. With Morris out, presumably Longhurst is in the top 3 somewhere, so it'll give him a handy championship lead. And also means Morris will start off the back for race 2. Final corner. Eighth place finish, we'll take that. Top Peugeot again. Let's now go and check the results of round 2, race 1 from Phillip Island. So Phil Ward converts pole position into his first win of the year in the Technophone Mercedes, just 0.4 of a second in front of Tony Longhurst in the Benton and Hedges BMW. Peter McKay brought up 3rd in the second of the Mercedes. Mark Addison another 4th, and John Cotter a steady run to 5th place in the M3 Motorsport BMW. Peter Dillman 6th in the second of the M3 Motorsport Clark BMWs. John Blanchard in 7th. Russ Dugman, we finished 8th, 33 seconds off the pace. A couple of seconds in front of our teammate Ken Matthews in 9th, and Peter Hills rounded out the top 10 and also rounded out the finishes because it was a race of attrition. Steve Ellery retired. Both of the Oryx Toyota Carinas retired, as we saw, both with gearbox problems. Phil Alexander and Paul Morris in the BMW, he went off at the end of the front straight, as we saw. They'll be in for a hard race off the back of the grid in race number 2. So that's where we'll leave race 1. Tune back in soon when we'll be back for race number 2 from Phillip Island, the 4th race of the season. We'll leave you now with some highlights of some of the action that took place during race 1 here at Phillip Island. See you soon.